Alright, cool. Now, getting into the death of King Henry, right? I might as well just call this one that. Getting into the final phase of this whole process, of this whole series. The ruthless reign of England's mad tyrant, right? King Henry VIII, we're talking about. Yeah, continue, my brother.
Children who looked destined to just fight over whatever had remained.
Yeah.
Now, on January 28th, 1547, Henry VIII died at Whitehall Palace. He was 55 years old. There's a story that he died clutching Archbishop Cranmer's hand, unable to speak, but squeezing it when asked if he trusted in Christ's mercy.
What'd he say?
Maybe it happened, or maybe, like many of the stories involving Henry VIII, it was crafted to give a brutal reign a softer ending. And after his death, chaos ensued.
Yeah, what happened?
Edward VI became king, but he was just a child, so real power fell to Protestant reformers who pushed religious change far more aggressively than Henry ever dared. Latin services were...
And you know what's crazy about... Oh, this guy prepared his whole life to be in the greatest of shapes, just so that he can die like this, right? Die a sickly man who's like struggling, suffering, you know? Because I mean, you know, once you do things like get your body in shape, train, you know what I'm saying, get your intellect right. He probably was he into any narcotics? I don't know. I wouldn't think so. Substance use, right? He was in the best of shape to be, you know, an A1 ruler. And obviously you get yourself in that kind of state so that, you know, you could have long life and, like, you know, be able to die happy in your sleep someplace, not from no severe sickness and like disease and infectious type thing that takes you out.
Were completely gone. English liturgy took over, altars were ripped out, images were smashed, and under Edward, the Reformation Henry had started for personal reasons became a full-blown ideological revolution.
So King Edward started reigning at a very young age?
Edward was always frail throughout his childhood, and in 1553, he died at 15 years old.
No.
Again.
What? Wait, what?
Most likely from tuberculosis.
TB?
Mary then took the throne and immediately tried to reverse everything. Again, Mary, a staunch Catholic. She restored papal authority, even persecuted Protestants, and burned nearly 300 people at the stake. That's how she earned the nickname Bloody Mary. And the irony here is brutal, right? Henry killed those loyal to Rome.
That's the Bloody Mary concept. It comes from this. What? Queen Mary?
And burned nearly 300. Mary then took the throne and immediately tried to reverse everything. Again, Mary, a staunch Catholic. She restored papal authority, even persecuted Protestants, and burned nearly 300 people at the stake. That's how she earned the nickname Bloody Mary. And the irony here is brutal, right? Henry killed those loyal to Rome, and then Mary killed those loyal to Henry's new church. Mary eventually died childless in 1558, and Elizabeth, the daughter Henry once declared as illegitimate, the child of the wife he executed, now became queen. She ruled for 45 years and outshined him.
Oh no, she had a long-ass rule.
In almost every way.
Rule period.
She stabilized the religious divide that he had created, building a moderate Protestant state that most of England could live with. She defeated the Spanish Armada, turned England into a rising naval power, and really presided over a cultural boom that gave us Shakespeare and the other great English poets.
Cool,
Elizabeth built an England out of the rubble that her father left behind, but none of her achievements would have ever been possible without Henry's destruction. This is what's ironic. His break with Rome created the Protestant kingdom that she then shaped. The dissolution of the monasteries formed a new gentry class.
Yo, but it's crazy that the unexpected kid, right? The black sheep. Because people would have considered Elizabeth the black sheep right now. At this point, at least, right? Because she comes from the wife that ended up being executed by him. Like, what? Right? obviously now you go ahead and execute, you know, that child's mother. You clearly had no care or consideration about the child themselves. And yes, this comes off of, you know, the fact that girl children were not, like, they were frowned upon. If you had a girl child, it's like, yo, right? I don't know, for whatever reason it was for, but having a girl child, you know, it wasn't it. Feel me? So I feel like he had long forgotten about all that. Like, you know, casted them to the side, casted Elizabeth to the side, only for her to, like, you know, have a long ass reign, like, you know what I'm saying? And come restore some shit off of the rubble that her father left. Alright. To me, like, I look at that like that was a blessed reign, bruh. Like, if you reign for like a whole, like, a long ass time, you know what I'm saying? That's like a blessed period for you, for your reign, right?
Loyal to the crown. His claim to supreme authority, his use of parliament to legitimize radical change, these laid the foundations for a centralized Tudor state that Elizabeth would then inherit and then strengthen. But the cost of Henry's choices was enormous. Thousands were executed either by Henry himself or in the violence that followed his reforms. Centuries of art and architecture and spiritual tradition just vanished when the monasteries were destroyed. Suspicion and fear seeped into the daily life of every person living under the king, and the religious divisions he created split Britain for centuries, fueling civil war under Charles I, persecution under Cromwell, and of course sectarian conflict that carried even into Ireland. Historians have spent 500 years asking the same question.
What's that?
Did Henry drive events, or did these events drive Henry? Was he a mastermind reshaping England for his dynasty, or just an impulsive man chasing personal obsession while, you know, guys like Wolsey and Cromwell did the real work? And the truth is, unfortunately, kind of somewhere in the middle. I mean, Henry was brilliant and genuinely a smart guy. He understood theology. He read people really well. He could charm or intimidate anyone with equal ease. But brilliance is not wisdom, and power is not good judgment. Henry had the intellect to grasp these.
Damn, look how big he was. Oh.
Complex ideas and the charisma to win loyalty, but he lacked the self-awareness to see when his obsessions were dragging him into disaster. Ultimately, he wanted glory, but instead he created chaos. He claimed divine
He wanted glory. It made him gluttonous, maybe.
authority, but had to rule his kingdom through fear. He wanted greatness, but ended up just securing infamy. And yet, the religious revolution he set in motion because he wanted to remarry changed England more deeply than maybe any monarch before or after him. The Church of England still exists today because of King Henry. Parliamentary supremacy, which he used to justify his actions, eventually limited royal power in ways that he never could have actually foreseen. And the physical scars, of course, of his reign, I mean, ruined monasteries, crumbling into the hillside in England, still mark the country today. At the beginning of his reign, Henry VIII wanted to be remembered as a warrior king who brought England to new heights, that conquered new lands, a defender of the Catholic faith. And
let me see what Copilot thinks about this little question that I have, right? Yeah, Copilot. So, did King Henry VIII, did his reign have a net positive or a net negative over England?
I'm not able to identify who a speaker is just from hearing their voice or seeing an image.
No, look. What? I'm saying, did King Henry VIII's reign have a net positive or net negative effect on England?
In a nutshell, it's a bit of a mixed bag with King Henry VIII. He definitely shook things up, major religious reforms and some pretty big changes to the monarchy. But, you know, there were some heavy costs to, like, economic strains and social unrest. So it's kind of a mixed legacy, if you think about it.
It's a mixed bag with King Henry VIII, huh? Alright.
And a man who wanted to change England's destiny forever, and instead he's really remembered for his wives and his rage and his waist size. And of course, the destruction that he left behind. I mean, 6 marriages, 2 beheaded queens, trusted advisors just killed, hundreds of
He done went crazy, didn't he?
clergy driven out, centuries-old religious communities just torn apart so that the king could effectively take their wealth and power.
Yeah.
And yet, here's one final paradox.
Where is it?
Everything he destroyed cleared space for this new English dynasty to rise. Elizabeth's golden age was built on the ruins of her father, King Henry.
Yeah.
His break with Rome reshaped what Western Christianity looks like. His grab for absolute power helped pave the path towards constitutional monarchy. I mean, so much of the reason why America is, Protestant Christian today is because of this man. Henry VIII spent his whole life obsessed with securing
Protestant Christianity is a derivative of Henry's work.
the Tudor line.
Say that shit again.
Much of the reason why America is, Protestant Christian today is because of this man. Henry VIII spent his whole life obsessed with securing the Tudor line through a male heir. Edward dies young, and the Tudor dynasty really dies with him. And the crown eventually gets passed on to the Stuarts, the descendants of Henry's sister Margaret, the very line that he tried to keep power away from.
Yeah.
All the marriages, the executions, the upheaval, and the secession landed exactly where Henry didn't want it to go. The Golden Prince, who took the throne in 1509, died in 1547, a broken tyrant, and England would spend the next century trying to understand what he had done and ultimately what he had become.
Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the abridged life of King Henry.
King Henry
Kind
VIII.
of an interesting guy to have dinner with, right? At the very least. Like, imagine you got to dine with Henry VIII, like, maybe after, like, the first wife, like, Catherine is gone.
What about after the accident?
After the accident is crazy. I mean, first off, like, you are the king of England and you're still jousting. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen, even, like, you've been to, like, a Renaissance fair or, like, Arabian Nights.
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
It's crazy that, like, he's literally running the country and is not, like, play fighting. Like, who's the guy that hit him?
You said he was when? It was, he was in his 50s or what?
We gotta have
He's
him.
dead.
Right? Like, could you do a fact check on that?
But that was like what Teddy Roosevelt was like.
Yeah, I guess.
Roosevelt would fight with like the American champion.
Yeah.
Every time he was crowned.
Yeah, like
And he became like blind in one eye.
a real bull moose, you know?
Yeah.
That is wild. Yeah, I'd be so curious to know what happened to this guy. I mean, what was your take? What do you think? What do you think of old King Henry?
I mean, I guess like the biggest misconception was I thought the breakaway was more influenced by the Protestant faith.
Well, like most things, I think that's an element of it. Like, I don't.
Protestant Christianity. So he... Wait, hold on. I want Copilot to paint this picture for me clearly, right? Hey, Copilot, please connect to me clearly King Henry VIII's connection with Protestant Christianity in America.
जरूर मैं आपसे बिल्कुल साफ साफ
Don't do this, brah. Don't. Why you always gotta be weird? Speak English to me, please.
Of course, no problem. I'll speak English from here on out.
Look,
Let me know
I'm
what.
saying. Clarify for me, right? King Henry VIII's connection with Protestant Christianity in America.
Sure. Let's break it down. King Henry VIII kicked off the English Reformation, which opened the door to Protestant beliefs in England. Fast forward, English settlers who came to America brought those Protestant ideas with them. So basically, Henry split with the Catholic Church, helped plant the seeds of Protestant Christianity in the States.
Okay.
I don't think you can say that's not part of it, because of course you have, I think Protestant and like Reformation-minded opportunists that see this event and be like, oh, this guy's breaking away, and this is our chance to like, anglicize or like, Protestantify the country.
Protestantify.
So I think it's probably both to an extent, but yeah, I think the ultimate ideological thing, this is what I was taught from my mom, who obviously, ardent Catholic, was like, yeah, this was just done because he wanted to divorce, and the Catholic Church was like, yeah, that's not a thing.
Do you think that the marriage would have been annulled if Catherine's nephew
Didn't take over Rome?
Yeah, because it seemed like they had grounds. I mean, just that passage from Leviticus saying that no marriage is legitimate if
Wait, ask it again.
nephew.
This was just done because he wanted to divorce, and the Catholic Church was like, yeah, that's not a thing.
Do you think that the marriage would have been annulled if Catherine's nephew
Didn't take over Rome?
Yeah, because it seemed like they had grounds. I mean, just that passage from Leviticus saying that no marriage is legitimate if it's like your brother's widow, which is oddly specific for her.
How often was this happening? Right? I mean,
I'm also assuming the passage in scripture was used like brother, like generally.
Yeah.
Just like a confidant of person of the community.
The homie.
The homie.
I mean, it might literally mean brother. I don't speak ancient Hebrew. But I could see it going that way. I could see the Pope being like, look, this guy's our boy. He's riding for us.
Yeah,
and
staunch defender.
He's got our back, and he needs this one little thing figured out.
And he has grounds.
And there's a little bit of scriptural evidence. I could see it going that way. But again, it's interesting because the church, it's possible that they might have bent their rules a little bit to appease the monarchy, but they couldn't for political reasons. So it's ultimately all politics. Oh, dude, I just saw a graphic that in Vienna in 1913. I'll send this to you after so you can throw it on the screen. Vienna, 1913.
Okay.
In Vienna.
I see where this is going.
You had it living within like 2 miles of each other.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
So it's Hitler.
Yep.
Was it Archduke Franz Ferdinand?
Franz Joseph.
Is that?
I think that's the Archduke, yes.
There's one more.
There's 3 more.
There's 3 more. Austria.
Sigmund Freud.
It's Freud, yeah.
Trotsky.
The scientist?
Nope. Trotsky, the
revolutionary,
the Russian revolutionary.
Was he communism?
Yeah.
I thought that was Lenin.
Lenin and Trotsky were kind of like boys that were running it.
It's just over.
Sings, I see the writing on the walls. I mean, back to the sin, cause it was pride before the fall. And now the demons grin, there's no temptation too tall. So it's forever. Yeah, imagination that shifted realities till paradigms shift into shades you ain't never seen. Was once excited for all this, now I ain't trying to be seen. Forever. Cause this mind is straight chatter, but I can barely say something. I feel like shit don't matter, so beware the fun cutting. It's volumes of demise, I hear the sound buzzing. So when she said she wanna die, and he sees she ain't bluffing, so he held her to the skies, cries, sour momentum. Passive with goodbyes, I'd rather you tell him. But now the truth is I've digressed from all the feelings, so it's forever though. But my mama's son missing, ain't no telling, do they love or did they kill him? The dominoes have fallen, we can't go back to beginning. This existential crisis, the reason I cannot keep competing and keep on living. So it's back against the world, seeing all your value once you dealt with all the dirt. Backing up slowly from these diamonds and pearls, quote unquote. Fat lady sings, I see the writing on the walls. I mean, back to the